Oh no. 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 I'm ready to get my feelings hurt. Hi, my name is Courtney. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm going to be reading 1-star reviews for some of my 5-star books. Right now, there's this really cute TikTok trend where people are listing out their books that they'll take no criticism for. And I thought that I would do a little bit of a spin on that, where I take some of my 5-star books and I read 1-star reviews for them and probably hurt my feelings. I would like to think that I'm pretty resilient to these sort of things, but we'll have to see what happens when people start criticizing my favorite books. So I did have a friend of mine take a list of my 5-star books and put together some 1-star and 2-star reviews. I have not read them yet. We're going to be reacting to this together. Let's go ahead and get started. The first book that I'm going to be reading 1-star reviews for is By a Thread by Lucy Score. This is one of my 2023 5-star reads. I absolutely loved this book. I was on a little girls trip when I read it and I would not shut up about it. I was annoying my friends so bad. This book is about Dominic and Allie. Dominic works for a high-powered fashion magazine and Allie is a pizza server just trying to get by. Dominic comes into Allie's pizza parlor getting dinner with his mom and basically insults Allie. Allie insults him back. She refuses to take things lying down and Dominic gets Allie fired. Allie ends up working for Dominic, unbeknownst to Dominic, and chaos ensues. It is like a grumpy sunshine, but Allie she has like a little bit of a zest to her. Lucy Score is known for writing older characters that don't always act the most mature, and I think that By a Thread is like the perfect example of that in the best way. This book, I think I've said this like 50 times now, is The Devil Wears Prada, but make it sexy. It is a little bit of a dirtier book. It's a thick one too, so if you like long books, I think you should check out By a Thread by Lucy Score if you haven't read it yet. Clearly I am biased, but let's see if you are persuaded to not read it by these 1-star reviews. While reading this, I had the impression that they were supposed to be younger in the original draft, but the author decided to age them up for whatever reason. The discrepancy between their supposed ages and their behavior just baffles me. I know a lot of you will say that the age range of late 30s to 40s can be goofy, immature, have really poor decision-making skills worthy of 19-year-olds too, but if I wanted that, I would have just read a standard new adult romance. That their conflicts arise simply from both of them having too much pride can be believable. Pride knows no age, but it's too flimsy a plot device. I can nitpick all I want, but in the end, I guess it's not for me. You're right. It's not for you. I will own up to the fact that these characters act a little bit immature, but I don't care, okay? I'm not reading thinking is this behavior of somebody in their late 30s or 40s? I don't think it comes into play too much. DNF at 4%. Boy, these characters are childish. They're supposed to be near 40, as if. I can't get behind someone who acts like not funny catty character in a workplace like that because it's just plain stupid behavior. Like she never come across assholes before working the service job. They're a dime a dozen, seriously. I might have been more forgiving if she wasn't supposed to be 39. Maybe 19-year-olds with that kind of reckless impulsivity would have been reasonable. There's no way I was going to keep reading, even though I usually manage at least 10% before trashing. Okay, this is twice that we've referenced these characters of 19 years old. If it works better for you, commenter, think of them as 19. DNF at 4%? 4%? I think that's one chapter in. I don't even think that should count. That is so quick to DNF a book. DNF, I got to 45% and I realized this book was just trash. Oh, this one hurts. I don't like books that immediately go from the get-go, spend too much time on physical appearance, all the talk of okay, we're gonna skip those words. Talk of intimate acts distract from the actual story. This is 40-something-year-old man is acting like a 13-year-old boy with uncontrollable hormones. Eye roll emoji. This book has such a thin story which nosedives at a strip club scene. Just ridiculous. I forgot about the strip club scene. I really liked that scene. At 45%, you got all the way into 45% and then you quit. Like I said, this is a little bit of a dirtier book. I feel like I've given you a fair picture of what this book is about. I disagree, commenter. I disagree. The author tried so hard to force the comedic element of the story that it became corny. This was also entirely too long. It's one of those long books that actually feels like a long book because you can't stop thinking, damn, there's still more. Also written with a white gaze, if that makes sense. Like, you can tell a white person wrote this. I'm gonna speak to the fact that it's a long book that feels long. It's because it's a long book. I didn't think it felt long. I thought it felt perfectly reasonable. There is some forced comedy, but it's very typical of a rom-com. I don't know. I don't even know if I meant to defend myself at this point. These reviewers are right. In the elements that they critique, I also noted. I gave you a fair estimate of what this book was going to be about. I loved it. These commenters did not. My next 5-star book is Still House Lake by Rachel Kane. This is one of the books that I read early in my rediscovering my love of books journey in 2020. This book is about Gina Royal, who is living like a very typical Midwestern life with her 2 kids and her husband, and then an event happens and she finds out that her husband is a serial killer. So she has to rebrand her life. She is now Gwen Proctor, and she is in pursuit of escaping her husband. If I remember correctly, she turned on her husband in the trial because they were trying to get Gwen to go down for these crimes too, even though it was her husband that committed it. But it's a suspense kind of mystery novel where Gwen just can't seem to escape the clutches of her ex-husband. And so she's moving around to try and give her kids like another shot at life. She moves her and her kids to Still House Lake. She buys a property there and she's trying to fix it up and start over. And then things just kind of start to trickle in relating to her ex-husband. I don't remember a lot of the book because it was like 3 years ago now, but I do remember that I loved it, and I was like shook by what I read. So let's see what people who didn't love it have to say about it. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, 1 star. The absolute worst. This was god awful. It's like the author of this book picked some hot topics of late: internet trolls, gun rights, Reddit, Bitcoin hacking, etc., and put them all together like a Mad Lib. Oh no! The writing is the worst I've ever read. It's constant telling instead of showing, with the protagonist recapping her feelings and conclusions at length ad nauseum every other chapter. It felt like someone's first effort at creative writing. I got this for free, and I'm still kind of angry that I wasted several hours of reading time on this. Lost my faith in humanity, all the good reviews. I don't remember it being show and not tell. That's not good. That's so funny. This review is in 2017. I didn't read it till 2020, so I obviously didn't pick up on it being like very of the time. That's hilarious. I don't remember it like gun safety having like a huge play in this book. Gun laws, maybe it was that everybody could, I really don't know, so I can't speak to why that is an issue. But in my memory, it's a perfect book. Thought this would be good for a long transatlantic flight, but it just isn't my style. The sadistic violence is extremely graphic and very disturbing. The plot didn't grab me either. There were no hints pointing at the bad guy, only a bunch of equally likely suspects, one of whom ended up being a psycho killer. Guess it's just not for me. I would say that the plot twists in this book I didn't see coming, and sometimes when plot twists are like that, it's like, oh wow, what a creative plot twist. And other times it's like, how could I have known? How could I have predicted? But you kind of have to pick your battles with that. Do you want a book where you can predict what's going to happen, or do you want a book where you can't predict what's going to happen? I think that one's a different strokes for different folks. So I would agree, this just isn't for you. So slow. The woman, so slow. The protagonist has to be the stupidest woman ever. No surprises here. Everything is not cleverly spelled out for the reader. Author seems to have a bias against law enforcement, which is unfortunate. A sequel? No thank you. The stupidest woman ever. Well, she did have a serial killer husband and didn't know about it. But that happens. And I don't know. Like I said, I don't remember there being like an anti-gun safety line in this book, but I could be wrong. It's from a while ago. I should read the sequel. That's what these reviews have taught me, is that I'm gonna read the sequels. Another 5-star book for me this year was Project Hail Mary. This book had me in its clutches. Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir is about Ryland Grace, who wakes up in a spaceship, and he is so disoriented that he doesn't remember his own name. He's having flashbacks of his memory leading up to why he's on the ship. So he pieces together pretty quickly that he is on a solo mission to save humanity, and is trying to put together how he got there and how to accomplish that task. The plot twist in this book really surprised me, and when I got to them, I was like, oh, I simply must finish this book right now. And I cried, I laughed out loud. I think Andy Weir did a great job with his banter, especially considering that this book is from one man's perspective. He's like sassy and has a lot of attitude, and I just really loved him. I loved Ryland. So this book I thought was so fun, and it was so beautiful. It's all the thing, and I'm a little bit worried about how this book is going to like hurt my widow heart when I read these reviews. In the editor's note at the beginning of this book, the editor notes that they love this newest novel by Weir because it pushes the science. It also pushes the credibility and sense. I have a very strong willing suspicion of disbelief, but this went too far, making it much more a fantasy of about a 5-year-old than anything else. If you enjoyed the technical creativity of The Martian, you'll want to give this one a pass. I didn't read The Martian. So screw you, buddy. I didn't have anything to compare it to. Project Hail Mary is blameless. Maybe I got rocks for brains, but when I read science fiction, a lot of times I think too hard of it. I think too hard about it, and then it doesn't make any sense. In this book, I personally thought it made a lot of sense. I thought the science was great. Science was sound. I took honors biology in high school. I know a lot about science. And I thought that this science was sound. Oh no. Every so often, I'm lucky enough to come across something that reminds me of how beautiful the diversity of the human experience is. For example, some people loving this book. Oh no! How? That's so funny and so mean. And you know what? They're right. I feel the same way about them hating the book. This book reads like an alien describing a sci-fi movie. This is the first book in a long time I had to put down. Characters have no substance. There's barely a plot. You would think that it would be easy to make the reader care about the stakes when Earth hangs in the balance, but I really wouldn't have cared if Ryland died at any point. If you like a narrative mansplaining high school chemistry and physics, this book is for you. Don't accuse me of liking mansplaining, commenter. That's not very nice. An alien describing a science fiction movie. That's not inaccurate, but I could use that same language and be describing my 5-star review. And I would have cared if Ryland died at any point. Really did not like this novel. I loved The Martian and liked Artemis okay, but this book is so irritating I could barely force myself to finish it. The main character is annoying. He talks with exclamation points. He's a nerd genius. I don't want to spoil the plot surprises for anyone who is planning on reading this, and there are some mildly interesting plot twists, but mostly I was bored and annoyed. I didn't read The Martian or Artemis, so there. I can't be annoyed with it being different or similar, but now I do want to read The Martian and Artemis. If this person liked those books better and did like Project Hail Mary, I feel like that bodes well for me. Also, I've got to say that these 1-star reviews are so witty, which tracks for the book Project Hail Mary. Good job, commenters. You made me laugh. My next 5-star book is If I Never Met You by Vari McFarlane. Vari is my favorite author. I am probably mispronouncing her name. She is Scottish. It's Mhairi, but I think it's Vari. Vari McFarlane is a contemporary romance writer, and I fully credit her for my reinvigoration of reading in 2020 and 2021. I read If I Never Met You and then quickly bought every book of hers that I could. I recently learned she has a new one coming out in August, and I'm so excited about it. So she is a contemporary, not even a contemporary romance author. She writes more literary fiction about women in their like late 20s, 30s, just going through life, usually the end of a relationship. All of her books are 4 and 5 stars for me. She's such a comfort author. And this book is the first of hers that I read, and my first 5-star read that I can remember since I got back into reading. This book is about Lori, who is in a long-term committed relationship, and that relationship comes to an end. Unfortunately, I believe Lori and her ex work at the same place, and through the grapevine at work, she finds out that her ex has a new girlfriend and that girlfriend is pregnant. She's going through this like internal breakup dialogue. At the same time, another coworker of hers, Jamie Carter, who is this hotshot that her ex never liked, is looking to get promoted. I think he's looking to get promoted. Lori and Jamie end up in like a fake dating situation. It's fake dating. It's a little bit enemies to lovers, and overall it's just like a really fun time. Vari also is an author that writes pretty closed door books. So if you're looking more for like not spicy books with a romance plotline, I think that she is a great author for that. Like I said, she's a total comfort author for me. So if you haven't read anything from this author, I highly recommend it, and I hope that you're not dissuaded by the reviews that I'm about to read. A book should be many things, but never mind numbingly dull. I disagree with that one. It's not dull. It's charming. Dislike. It starts with many pages going into exhausting detail about a breakup with a shitty man. This was pretty realistic and also not interesting in any way, and should not have taken up the first entire third of the book. The fake dating was okay, but also way too full of this relationship is therapy for me to be into it. And then the real dating, conflict, and resolution happened in like 2 chapters. And also people do earnestly say LOL out loud all the time. People do say LOL. They do. It's not a good look, but it happens. I like that aspect of this author's books. I like that she writes about the woman, that the romance is never the main plot line. There's always a cast of friends that you get to know. It's more focused on the specific woman growing through this like trying time in her life. While you don't think that it's good that she spends a third of it on her breakup, it is about Lori. It's not about Lori and Jamie like a lot of romance books are. You're following Lori. Jamie just happens to become involved, which I really love in my romance books. Oh no. Oh my God, I hate to be that person, and I'm usually quite easily pleased when it comes to reading, but I'm genuinely angry about how long and pointless this book was, and don't even get me started on the fact that this is marketed as a romance, because it barely is. I agree. I have no qualms with the fact that this is not like your run-of-the-mill contemporary romance. It's not. You're not getting the main focus being the relationship, but if you enjoy women's literary fiction, I do think that you should pick this up. If anything from this video, you should learn that I love long and pointless books. Like, give me a book that's over 400 pages and I am all there. So I can't speak to this person not enjoying it, because the reasons they didn't like it, I really did. And last but certainly not least is my most recent 5-star read, which is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. Now, this book is the second book in the ACOTAR series. I'm going to do my best not to give you any spoilers, but if you are worried that discussing the book in any way is going to be a spoiler, maybe skip this portion and I'll see you at the end. I hope that these reviews don't spoil the plot either. I won't read them if they do. Book 2 in the ACOTAR series, A Court of Mist and Fury, is my favorite book. I'm like halfway done with book 5 right now, and it still holds my heart. Nothing could hold a candle to A Court of Mist and Fury for me. And essentially it is about Feyre, our main character from the first book, dealing with decisions that she made at the end of the first book in the second book. There is personal decisions that she made that are now affecting what happens. And then also there is this growing sense of dis-ease in the entire fae and human world that has to be dealt with as well. And she gets involved in that. I'm not going to give you more than that because I don't want to spoil it for you. And I feel like that is a good enough explanation without actually spoiling or naming what happens. Book 2, A Court of Mist and Fury, it is a romance book. That, to me, I think that's why I love it so much. It's light on the action, heavy on the romance. That's just my vibe, dude. And it's a long book, another one, so I was very into it. Let's see if these reviews crush my little heart and soul. Oh no. A fitting end would have been this book in a grave burning hell. DNF'd at 14%. I was intending on actually reading the whole thing, if just to see how Sarah J. Maas planned to attempt to justify her questionable and offensive decisions in the first book. But this piece of crap is crazy long. I hate most of the characters, namely Feyre, Rhysand, and Tamlin, and the ones I don't hate, I'm completely indifferent towards. The world building is okay at best, the magic system is fairly inconsistent and uninteresting, and I have much better things to do with my life than waste any more time on ACOTAR because it isn't good and it isn't getting better. In fact, it's almost getting worse. That is not true. That's objectively not true. And at 14%, you didn't even give it a chance to like warm up, you know? That's so, I guess 14% in like a 700-page book is like a lot, but still, and as somebody who doesn't read fantasy books, I think the magic system is consistent. So you fantasy readers out there might feel a little bit different than I do, but that's okay because I love this book and it was crazy long and that was one of the best parts about it. DNF'd at 23%, my one left brain cell, couldn't take it anymore. If you're wondering where the rest of my brain cells went, you should ask ACOTAR. Didn't like it. This is very, very overhyped. This was a waste of my precious time in which I could have read a good book. So no, I don't think I will continue to read it anytime soon. Or maybe I'll never read it. Yeah, maybe that'll be for the best. I've had enough purring for always. P.S. I'm sorry I didn't listen to all the people who warned me I wouldn't like this. I should have listened. Purring is a thing in books. It's not a good thing, but it's something that we've all come to recognize. And there are things written in books that just don't translate to IRL. And purring is one of them. Also, his eyes darkened. What does that mean? That's besides the point. I'm just saying that in a book, you're allowed to say all sorts of things and have them not make sense translated into real life. And I'm sorry that you felt that this was a waste of your time. And I don't think it was overhyped. I thought it was hyped just enough. And this is coming from somebody who really thought this series was overhyped. And then I read it and now I'm like, I get it. And I want to hang out with these people all the time. I disagree, but you're allowed to have your own bad opinion. This is BS. I'm livid. I feel betrayed. Thanks Sarah J. Maas for turning my #1 author to getting kicked out. Whoa. Now, I did not mind reading a book that is more mature than Maas's books. I'm used to it. But this plot was ridiculous. It was like Maas couldn't decide on where to lead her book. Is it a Beauty and the Beast retelling? I don't know. Let me just mix it all together to confuse the crap out of you and make it seem like two different books. And I don't give a crap about romance. I tend to focus on plot more, then characters, then romance. But because Maas made this all about love, I guess I gotta focus on that. Too bad the romance is utterly insane. I hated it. I hated it so much I was gonna cry. I feel like this review came from like a younger person because the first ACOTAR book is definitely marketed more towards young adult. Book 2 does not feel YA. It's like definitely a little bit more mature. But I've told you this. I've literally told you guys that this book is a romance book and it just happens to be a little bit fantasy and I loved that. So it's great. Book 2, great. I read this book despite knowing it was one more of S.J. Maas's work of worshipping abusers. The funny thing about this is that this one tries to sell itself as a feminist manifesto when it is in fact a glorification of sexist and misogynistic cliches. This author already ruined her other series by committing the same mistakes so I shouldn't be surprised. As for the story itself, it fell flat and the book could have been at least 200 pages shorter. I could have done with 200 more pages, thank you very much, commenter. Worshipping abusers? That's a little aggressive, and I think that that is wrong for the most part. Definitely not entirely wrong, but mostly wrong. Sexist and misogynistic cliches. I haven't read any of her other series, so I can't speak to whether or not she's ruined her other series, but I am about to start Crescent City, and boy, am I excited for that. So I'll keep you updated on if it gets more sexist and misogynistic. What did I learn? What did I learn from that? I learned that Andy Weir's audience is hilarious. I also learned that people don't like long books as much as I do, and that's okay. And you know what? At the end of this, I still feel just as committed to all of my 5-star reviews as I did when I read the books. Save the ones I read in 2020, and I can't really remember the plot points beat for beat. So I guess I won't be taking any criticism on these books that I love so dearly. Reading 1-star reviews of my favorite books is one of my favorite hobbies because I like looking at how wrong other people are. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye!